parking, and also in the academic setting. A lot of our office is here to provide resources, connections, to help them network, and to act as a big part of their advocacy. And I'm also really excited to be here today and to hear all of our students and everything that they've had to kind of endure and persevere through this past year.
Thank you so much. And then I would also like to thank the students who have been willing to be here today. So we will move on to the student panel. I have 4 students, correct?
I think you have 4 from from the Accessibility Center.
And then 3 from Project Success.
Okay, so if the students could please introduce themselves, and then we can begin with introducing their major as well.
I guess I'll go first because everyone's really shy, and let's face it, this is an uncomfortable time. My name is Melissa. Everyone calls me Melly. I am a what am I today? I am a theater major, focusing on costume design and style for the camera, and an RTF minor. I am a 44-year-old non-trad student who suffers from MS, cognitive disabilities, and other stuff. Good times. And this has been hell for me.
I'm sorry to hear that, but thank you for sharing.
All right. Anyone?
I guess I could go. My name is Derek. I'm a special education major. I have cerebral palsy and I suffer a lot with writing and typing, so all is speaking, so then online interaction have been a little difficult, but I think we all getting through it.
Thank you for being here today.
My name is Sarah. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a nursing major on campus. I have some psychological disabilities that I work with the Accessibility Center on.
Thank you. And then I see a hand up from Gemini.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get my thing. So sorry. My name is Gemini. I'm also a non-traditional student here. I'm studying at UW Fox right now, but planning to transition into UW in the fall. I am going for my human service leadership major, and I personally suffer from like PTSD. So it's been very difficult with the semester for sure.
Thank you for being here with us today. Is there anyone else who?
I can go. My name is Lauren Judd. I'm an education major, specifically special ed for K through 12, and I'm minoring in social justice. And then I have ADHD and I work with Project Success.
I can go. My name is Nicole, and I am an elementary ed major, and I have a learning disability in math, and I work with Project Success for that.
Thank you to both of you.
Who do we have left? Just Kev? I think Kev's the only one left in the Accessibility Center. Kev, you want to introduce yourself?
I am here. I am also right now currently acting as a CSO at the Culver Family Welcome Center, so I may be a little bit quieter than I would normally. So hopefully you can hear me. So hopefully my radio doesn't go off. Let me turn it off for a second. Hold on. It's off. It's good. Yeah, I am a theater major today, yeah, I think that's it, and I look forward to hearing all the feedback and hopefully being able to give some if I am able to.
Thank you. If that's everyone, then we can move on to the next question. So, why are students with disabilities one of the most vulnerable populations during this time?
Amanda, do you want us to kind of just chime in and have an open conversation, or do you want to kind of just pass it from student to student, or how do you want to proceed?
We could do like an open conversation, just anyone who's willing to answer if they're comfortable to do so.
Sure.
I can go. I think because like I'm very immunocompromised, and for me, like it was such like a shock. Like I had to like leave my school. I had to leave my friends. I couldn't leave my house for the last over a year now. And I'm a visual hands-on learner. I'm not a computer person. I'm 44 years old. I didn't grow up with computers. So this has just been, this is like the first time I'm going to get a bad grade this semester. And it's really kind of broken my soul because I'm a OCD, PTSD freak show. And it's like, if I think we can all agree, it sucks. We're like, we have these emotional problems and you're so overwhelmed with like the pressures of school, the pressures of if you have a job. I have a house and a husband and pets, and we lost 3 family members. It's just, I don't want to say we're delicate because all of us are super strong. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. But yeah, we are at risk. We're at risk to, oh my God, sorry, I'm having problems speaking. They were at risk for severe depression, for suicide, for getting sick quicker. We really need to be protected, whether we want to admit it or not. That is all.
I agree with you 100%, Molly, because I have always been a solid, pretty much 4.0 student. And right now I'm averaging a B and a C in one of my classes, and that's completely unlike me. So I understand it completely. And as far as like for myself, just adding that, I also feel like, I know it's somewhat addressed in the other questions, but I also feel like the professors are trying to be understanding, but I know that they also have a lot of stress that they're going through. So I don't feel like I've gotten as much support from my professors as what I was hoping to. Again, I know it's hard for them, but to me, that's one of the big things that I just feel like as a student with disabilities, I don't feel like they're as understanding as what they really should be.
I definitely agree with both of you so far with what you both said. I think for students with disabilities, it's specifically hard because our ability to adapt kind of depends on each individual case. And I think, like we've been discussing, there's so many psychological conditions that people are more susceptible to right now, like depression, just from staying inside and kind of being alone. And I think that has kind of made a big impact on people with disabilities. And I think the risk for people with pre-existing conditions, like Melly was saying, she hasn't gone out of her house in a year. I think that stress has kind of impacted people because they aren't able to see anyone. And with learning, on that side of the topic, I definitely agree with Gemini that professors have been trying, but it hasn't been the best kind of support. And online learning is definitely not my thing either. been a better student before last semester and this semester with online learning. So I understand where you're both coming from with that.
This is going to be my first D since I was in high school in 1995. I'm hoping to get a C minus so I don't have to like hang my head in shame, but this sucks. Let's all agree. Can we all agree this sucks? Everyone?
Thank you for sharing. And I know there was some discussion about mental health. Do you all, or whoever wants to share, like, do you believe there has been enough support provided from the university or any other outlets for mental health?
I've been lucky because I have the VA. So I don't know how the students get the deal with, and I'm hoping that y'all get taken care of. Not, I'm gonna like cry after this.
And then I see Kev has a hand up.
Yeah, I do. As being an on-campus student this semester and the entire year, I mean, I think it's always been an ongoing thing that we've been trying to get people with mental health more resources, especially on campus. And I believe that, you know, our counseling center is trying, but at the same time, I think there's always going to be room to grow. I don't think we've fully grown as much as we could for this semester and year. I think we got a lot to do, and obviously some of that does come down to some of the funding. The other thing I did have, Holly, I do have a question for you. Did you invite the advocacy senator for the OSA into this meeting?
I did not know. The folks who we invited was everyone from that's registered with the Accessibility Center, and then whoever Project Success and Amanda had reached out to.
Okay. The only reason I ask is because this would be something that they could and very well do for some other duties.
Yes, I definitely see an issue with funding as well. And then I see Gemini has a hand up.
Yeah, I just kind of want to mention that as far as like you had mentioned, you'd asked the question about, you know, are we receiving, you know, help with mental health things? And unfortunately, I had an experience where I had reached out and was not helped through the counseling center at all. It was a very poor experience. And so to me, I've kind of gotten to the point where I don't even want to try again. Even if it came down to something later on during, you know, non-COVID times like that. And so I know that for myself, I had a very poor experience. So I can't speak for what their success is and what they offer normally, but I can speak for myself in saying that it was not a good experience at all. And it like really left a poor taste in my mouth for counseling. And that's actually kind of what I want to do with my career. So it's even, to me, I guess maybe I'm a bigger critic, but it is really frustrating to not feel like there is right now. I don't feel like I have a whole lot of resources for help.
Thank you for sharing your experience. And I definitely agree, like the counseling center is an area our university needs to work on. And I also see Lauren has a hand up.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say I was visiting the counseling center my freshman year of college. I'm a junior now, and I think for a short time it was a good experience. It was just in the long run, there were things that you had to like do to continue visiting the counseling center. At least that's what I understood. You had to partake in small group things, and for some people that might be right up their alley, but for others that might be a bit out of the comfort zone, and for me that was. And so and I felt like I had to spill my whole life story to my counselor versus when I'm with my own counselor at home, she already knew my whole story, so I didn't have to tell her it all over again and relive all those things. So I think there definitely is like positives and negatives to the counseling center. I do think there are things that can be worked on, but in terms of what you have to do to fulfill your standing with them, it's a little bit trickier.
I just want to add that I was told that I absolutely had to show my face on camera, even though I expressed my discomfort for being on camera. But the only way they would talk to me is if I was on camera, and I was really put off by that. So I just, when you mentioned having to do things you weren't comfortable with, I just wanted to bring that up too real quick.
And Sarah?
First, I just wanted to say, Gemini, I'm really sorry for your poor experiences. That's awful to hear. But I just wanted to say that I think the counseling center tries, like I think they have good intentions and they send us emails and whatever, and they have all these services available. I just don't know that they're implemented in a way that is beneficial to most students. I think that they have things that are beneficial to some students. I just don't know that it's beneficial to most. I've definitely heard more negative experiences than positive. While I think that they have something that you can get out of it, like Lauren was saying, like, oh, I got a little bit out of it. I definitely think there's that, but I don't think it's to the extent of like what I would consider like really helpful therapy. I think that they try. I just don't know that it's, really that great.
If we can just backtrack a little bit, kind of what Melly was saying about having cameras on. I know that has been something that has been brought up a few different times with some students who I've worked with and the concerns that they have in regards to that. And I guess my question is, for the students who are here today, is to share your experiences, with your comfortability being on camera. Obviously, I know we're all here today on camera, but when it comes to class and being in positions where you are more vulnerable and that those stress loads are a bit higher and you're not as comfortable, I'm just curious as to what that feels like and what, how's that been for you?
For myself, it is that vulnerability that my house is I'm a very private person when it comes to my house. I don't really invite people over. If I have work that needs to be done, I put it off for like months and months and months. I don't like people out. So for me, having the camera turned on in the house is like inviting them into my space. And I feel like that should be an optional thing that I should be able to say, no, I don't want people in my space. So I guess that's kind of where I come from with cameras. That to me, that's what it feels like. And it just feels dirty almost to me, because it's just like, I don't want people to be in my face in my house. And that's what they are by turning on the camera. They're in my house. So that's just how I.
And kind of going off of like what Holly was saying, with being maybe on camera and being recorded and during your lectures, how do you guys feel about taking exams and using like the online proctoring system? Do you guys feel that it impacts your test taking skills or how you actually do on the exam overall? I just kind of want to know that experience as well.
Mostly, it's for class. I like the camera because it makes me feel like more I'm in the class. Because when I'm off camera and I can't see people, I feel not as interactive with them. But for the testing part, I don't like with the download because I can hear me speak. And I don't like that, so that there's another stress onto it. So I feel like it affected my testing that way. I don't understand why they have those provisions in there, but it's another stress to get used to if professors have that add on into the test.
Thank you all for sharing. And then I do see 2 hands. We can start with Sarah.
I agree, Derek. I think for me personally, I don't mind having my camera on during lectures, but sometimes I also understand where Gemini is coming from with the invasion of privacy. I think for me, it's easier for me to want to have my camera on if I'm in a public space or a space that's not my own. But then there's also the mask wearing that comes with that. So like if I am in a 3-hour class, I'd rather just do it at home and then not have my camera on. But if it's a requirement, it's not a huge deal for me. It's just kind of a preference thing. I do like when the professor has their camera on, and I think that it's nice when other students have their camera on, but I've gotten so used to students not having their camera on that it really doesn't bother me either way. With the testing, however, being videoed during a test sucks. I hate it. I don't like that at all. When I take tests, I look all over the place. I don't, even when I'm talking right now, I don't look right at the screen. Like I'm looking above the screen or I'm looking to the side of the screen. And I know that I get flagged for it. And that's how it's going to be. I don't like it though. I would prefer to take it in the testing center where someone can just watch me not cheat, because I know that I'm not cheating and I know that I am going to get flagged for it anyways. So it is very frustrating. It definitely adds a lot of anxiety. Just knowing that you're going to be videoed and watched while you take an exam definitely adds anxiety. Sometimes I'm like, I want to get through it as fast as I can just so that I don't have to be on the camera anymore. And last semester, especially, my scores went way down. This semester, I've kind of started to get used to it and turn off the video and do things like that so I can't see myself. But it's still definitely it has a psychological effect for sure.
I didn't know that was a thing. And if you guys could come to my house, my palms are literally drenched in sweat right now because that sounds absolutely terrifying. Like I am terrified of what you just talked about. Like I'm having a panic attack because I haven't had to go through that yet. But we have a big final and it's the whole entire semester of Shakespeare. And I think my heart might have just skipped a couple dozen beats. Thank you guys for the future night terrors. Love y'all.
And then I see a hand from Lauren as well.
Yeah, so I personally have not had to take the exam through that. I've been fortunate enough, I guess, to not have to. And with having anxiety and then having the additional anxiety of it being them watching you and look all over the place, like I feel the same way when I'm taking tests. I look all over the place, and it's not because I'm looking at answers, it's just because there's other things there that are distracting me. Like, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of the dog from Up when he's like squirrel and looks all over the place. So I'm fortunate that I haven't had to do that. I'm sure I will have to in the future. I'm not looking forward to it, and I think that my roommates that I have that have to do it like that, if I live in an apartment and one morning the maintenance guy came and we didn't know and he was knocking on the doors during one of their exams. And so I can only imagine what that did for them during taking the test and being proctored. So it's something I definitely don't want to have to experience.
I don't want to jump in and interrupt or anything like that, but from the opposite perspective of being, someone who works at the institution, is I've had very similar type of situations with being home and being on calls, like with students and my dog barking or my child joining my meetings. And I've been to years back sitting through interviews and getting the feedback that my eyes are like wandering over the room. And right, that's what happens in stressful situations. Our body reacts whether we want it to or not. And I know that I would definitely have the perspective and want to advocate for kind of the situations that you're all going through right now, and for some flexibility to be there with your instructors. But I guess more or less, what has been the perspective from your instructors when it comes to testing, and what have they given you in terms of feedback? And have they been okay with students, turning the camera off when you're allowed, when you can, and stuff like that?
I personally have not had to have my camera on like during lectures and such, but I have had to, sometimes the professor would request that the cameras turn on, but also then there comes that connection issue with internet, and sometimes the internet is more poor when everybody has their cameras on. And so that's just my experience with that. I haven't had to been required to have it on, but yeah.
I know at one point I was working with one student, and they had to have their camera on for an exam, and was adamant that that wasn't going to be an okay option for them. And so it was discussed whether or not they could come to the institution, come to Oshkosh, and take their exam like in the testing center. Did any of you explore alternative options in that regard?
One of my accommodations is a quiet environment and extended time. And obviously right now my quiet environment is my room. And that I believe I can use the quiet environment in project success and the testing center if needed. But I think for me personally, even like going onto campus and doing like homework in a different environment, that's just kind of not something I'm really interested in right now, just because it's like there's so much unknown. And even though like it's I think going in the right direction and things are changing, sitting there for 2 hours with a mask on and I don't know, that's just not something I'm super interested in. But I know I will have to do it again in the future and soon. But just right now, when I have the opportunity and able to do it from home, I'm going to do that. So I haven't actually even though some of my classes have been offered in person this semester, I've done them all online. And yeah, I think come fall, I'll be ready to step foot back on campus. But until then, I'm going to utilize this.
Yeah, and I think kind of jumping into what you just said, Lauren, is a lot of our students are very used to taking their exams either at home or just staying at home due to the current circumstances. So just kind of getting used to coming back to our new normal and getting back on campus. And I know our director, Jamie, she had a question to the rest of our panel to kind of see how coordinating like accommodations and utilizing the different proctoring services, have you guys run into kind of any difficulties or like frustrations while using those, and maybe getting some of those services turned off due to your accommodations? Because I know within our office, we have had a couple problems recently where I'll have students come down to our office and take the exam. And we kind of help advocate to the professor that we need to turn off these other proctoring kind of services, but then they get in here for the exam and it's not done, and you're already kind of in a more an anxiety heightened situation because you're getting ready to take that exam and getting in here and knowing that your accommodations aren't met. So I guess we're just kind of wondering, to the rest of you all, have you gotten in those situations where you've advocated your accommodations to your professors, maybe turning off that video proctoring service or anything else, and it hasn't been done?
These are some great questions. And then Gemini has a hand raised.
I personally haven't had to take any tests this semester, and I had taken off the previous semester, so I can't speak for that. But I will say here that there was an instance where I reached out to my professor and say, hey, I'm really struggling right now, mentally. I'm in a kind of depressive state. Can I have an extra day to finish this piece of homework? So it wasn't exactly testing or anything like that, but it was, something I was asking for accommodations, and she basically turned me down and said it wasn't a good enough excuse to not have my homework done. And it was just really frustrating because I'm sure if anyone has depression, they know that it's not just, I'm just not going to do it. It's sometimes you literally can't. And so I know I've run into that at least once this semester where I actually got the courage to ask, and it was stressful and anxiety to even ask, and then to have me turned down. And I was literally asking for 1 day extension, and she turned it down, and that was really frustrating to me because I felt like what I was asking for was a reasonable, I'm not asking for 2 weeks more, I'm asking for a single more day. And she just turned me down. So that was, I don't know if anyone else has encountered that, but to me, that was just really made me sad.
Yeah, I had a professor once that I dropped the class because I just fell behind and it was no coming back from it. But one day they were supposed to post like an assignment or something, and they didn't post it because they had a really bad migraine. And I thought that was like, personally, I thought that was like the most absurd reasoning ever, because if as a student we said, hey, I have a migraine, I can't finish this assignment by tonight, can I have an extra day, or submit it tomorrow, it'd be, that's not a good excuse, and like you should have thought ahead. But I don't know, I get it, like the professor has a higher ranking than us, but still, it was kind of frustrating.
Does Kirsten have a question?
Hey, thanks. Thank you everyone for what you've shared. I'm just really appreciative of all of what you're sharing about your experiences and how difficult this has been. I am just going to raise a couple more concerns. They're not very positive, but I'll just share some concerns I have as an associate dean, and what we've heard, certainly working with academic misconduct on the very other side of this. What I'm concerned about is when instructors don't use proctoring software, or if they say, I'm going to turn off my cameras, but then I'm going to decrease the amount of test time that the student has, or that the students have in the class. I don't know if anybody's experienced that, but that's been a very big concern that we've had in our office is, well, if I can't watch the student, then I'm just going to decrease the test time because that somehow decreases the risk of academic misconduct. And we've presented to faculty to say, you know what, the data doesn't actually really show that when it comes to academic misconduct, and that's a very small percentage, and really what we're doing is further disadvantaging students. But what I guess I'm getting to with this and with what I've just heard from everybody is that these stories are really helpful to us. And I know Ashley and Holly said that they're taking notes, which I think is really important. But anything that you can continue to share with us in any means is really helpful, because the student voice is what's most important and most heard. Believe it or not, I know that there's power and control issues, right, and structure issues going on. But when we can speak from, or we can share the student's perspective, that's really powerful, giving quotes and testimonials and things like that. And so please keep sharing. And then I'm also going to drop in the chat a link to, if you haven't heard of it, our accessibility concerns link, that you can fill out a report of any of the things that you're discussing, the experiences you're having, and then that will get to a variety of folks on campus that can respond, and you can do that anonymously as well. So just throwing that out there, and then I'm just going to be quiet because I'm really enjoying hearing from everyone today.
Yes, I'm glad this conversation is able to bring to light some of the experiences that you all have been facing from the university. And then, Sarah, do you have something else to add as well?
I sort of have a few things to say. To build off what Kirsten asked, personally, I'm in the nursing program. And basically last semester that they discussed that our options for this semester would either be to be video recorded to minimize risk of cheating, or not be video recorded, but have like 1 minute per question for our exams. So time is already pretty limited on our exams, and they wanted to limit it even further. We are doing the video recording option, so I haven't experienced that. But one of my roommates has this class this semester where she gets 1 minute per question, and she doesn't have disabilities, but she is very anxious to take the exam and worried that she won't finish it in time. And that's kind of some of the worries that I also have when I'm taking an exam, like worries that I won't finish in time. So I can't imagine having 1 minute per question. I think that would really impact the way that I took the exam, and I don't think I would do well. But I also wanted to bring up a situation that I experienced last semester, which Kirsten already knows about it, and Holly probably does too. But in November, I had an exam after Thanksgiving break. And when I came back to Oshkosh from Thanksgiving break, like that Sunday night, I had a panic attack. And for me, they're very debilitating. And honestly, I get very exhausted when I have a panic attack. So I emailed my professor at like 12:30 in the morning, and I said, I'm currently having a panic attack and we have an exam in the morning at like 8 a.m. But I don't think I'm going to do well if I take it. So can I please take it a different day? And the professor responded that morning before the exam and said, no, you need to take the exam. And without thinking about my options through, which I should have done, but being anxious about the exam anyways, and with all the other things, but whatever. I took the exam. I did awful. I literally got like a 50%, which is unlike me at all. And then my professor, I emailed her and I was like, look, I did awful. Like I said I was going to. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I barely remember taking the exam because I was still in that state of panic. And she was like, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but like, whatever. You're already not doing well this semester, so you're kind of screwed. And I was like, kind of disappointed because that grade had really impacted my grade, if you can imagine. And so I continued to advocate for myself, which I hardly ever do, which I was very glad that I could do this. I continued to advocate and I got a retake on the exam, but it took like 3 weeks in order to be able to get a retake. I had the retake like right before finals, and it wasn't really a great situation. But it all could have been avoided if my professor was more understanding of disabilities and concerns with disabilities and anxiety in general. And if she was more, well, if she would have believed me, I guess, is really what I want to say. So things like that, I think, are just awful, and I hope that they don't continue to happen to students, but I'm sure that they will.
I'm sorry you had to go through that situation, and I know there was a lot of discussion on how professors have been unsupportive. Do you all have any recommendations in how professors can be more supportive of this population?
I have found, because I actually have been really lucky and had decent professors, but that also comes with like tons of doctors' notes from like neurological teams, mental health teams, every team in the world. I have a team of doctors, but it really is, part of my language, I'm going to say owning your shit, because that's how I live my life. You have to advocate for yourself, and you have to own your shit. You'd be like, this is what it is. This is what I'm suffering from, especially because I'm an older person. I kind of know how old people work. And the more just blunt, honest you are with them, the better chance you're going to have of having that effect. And if you don't get through to them, get help from the counselors, get help from the dean. Don't lay down and don't lie down and die. Fight is not like physically fight, please. But yeah, know that you are stronger and that you can battle this and get through it. That is all from me.
I'm just going to piggyback what Jamie and Kirsten are saying in the chat, and 100% utilize our offices to help support you. I can't guarantee, a different or better outcome every time. But the more we continue to push, to advocate, and to educate the folks here at our institution, the better things are going to continue to be. And a lot of times, this has been my personal experience, and everyone I'm sure has theirs. But when you're advocating for yourself and kind of speaking up for yourself, sometimes it's harder, right? Like you don't have as much confidence and pride in who you are. Whereas someone else who speaks sometimes for you, they have a much greater understanding and perspective, and can sometimes go to bat for you better. And so please, that's what we're here for, to help advocate and to do as much as we can to assist you through these processes. And whether it's myself, Project Success, one of the deans, counseling center, whoever, if you don't get the answer you want, please keep going.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Holly. I think the more people that are on this campus to help students and really advocate for those that need the help, definitely come to the accessibility office, talk with them, talk with us at Project Success. We're here on campus just to support students. So if you need that extra help to kind of advocate for something that you feel that you are not getting, let Holly know, let myself know. Just talk to us and we'll definitely work with you guys.
I just wanted to kind of add something. I think when I read through the questions that was presented, to me, the biggest thing is I could answer almost every single one of the questions with one answer, and that was that policies have to be made to budge for certain situations. Holly, you'll know this because I spoke with you here, but I spoke with accommodations in regards to the policy with face masks, saying, when I have a panic attack, I get to a point where I hyperventilate and I cannot breathe. And so I had brought up the concern of being able to remove my mask during a panic attack and I was told that the policy per the UWO for everything that was done legally, that they did not have the right to say that I would be able to do this. And so that has been a very frustrating thing for me, and it has been it made me very just kind of reluctant to feel pride of going to UWO, just because I really feel like I asked for something that was a reasonable request, but because of being very limited of what they can do, I was denied. And so it is something here. I think that policies have to be made, that they have to be flexible, that yes, there are certain situations where this is the rule, but in this X situation, this is something here that can budge a little bit because of X, Y, Z is happening. So to me, that has been my biggest takeaway, is especially from this experience, that it really has made me try to figure out what I want to do going forward and whether or not I want to continue at UWO. It has made it just a really difficult process because I didn't really get what I was looking for. And I'm not like a little 3-year-old throwing a tantrum saying I didn't get the toy. I asked for something that was something I needed for my health, and I was denied it. So to me, that's the biggest thing that I take away from all these questions.
Thank you for sharing. And Lauren, did you have something to add as well?
Yeah, it was a little off topic, but I was going to say that one thing that I've struggled with throughout this whole throughout all of college, but more specifically during COVID, is my test taking and quiz taking scores. And in a perfect world, I'd pass the class the first time I take it, but with the college vet, you have to get a certain grade in math, and I've taken 3 math classes, and 2 of them I've had to retake. And I took math in the fall, and then I'm in it now. And if I have to retake it again this year, or this this coming fall, I will be highly disappointed in myself. And I think it has not only set me back education wise, but also mentally, I almost feel discouraged sometimes, and oh my gosh, I'm this is my second math class that I'm retaking, and if you could see the amount of work that I'm putting into the class, and the amount of resources that I am utilizing to try and get that grade, I think I should be there. It's just that the grades don't match up, and that's I think one thing that is hard for students, especially with disabilities, because they benefit from hands-on learning. And even though we have the option for some classes, it's just right now not everybody's comfortable with that. And yeah, I think it's hard to tell what could help you and benefit you right now, because I don't know, it's a different class and it's not something you've taken, and this isn't something you've been through before. So everything's so unknown, and who knows what will help you succeed better.
I know you mentioned you're not sure what would help you, but do any of you have any resources or services that you think would be helpful during this time that could be implemented?
I wish that classes could be taken, still be taken as a pass-fail or pass other, or you could, I know this semester they made it so the drop date was the last day of the semester, but last semester it wasn't. So I feel like that's kind of weird, the inconsistency, spring it was, fall it wasn't, now the spring it is, even though fall was more classes were online than it is this spring. So it doesn't really make that much sense. And I think some of my, even though it wouldn't affect my GPA, I believe it would have been better for my GPA that I take it for pass fail, because I've never had, like, my grades last semester were absolutely terrible, and I've never had all A's, but I've never had C's and D's, and then a couple B's. It's all been B's and A's and maybe a C here and there. So the way the roles have reversed is unbelievable, and I can't wait for fall, and hopefully that the grades will be improved for everybody.
I totally agree with Lauren, because I also took a math class past fall, and I got like in my normal classes I barely passed them. So that I think that pass fail option could have been a good option for a lot of students. I understand where the university coming from, but as a student, we didn't know if we were going to go back online completely. Definitely the fall time, definitely with all the other universities in the country going back online because they couldn't handle the COVID. So I think having that pass fail option could have been a real great option to have more security.
Yes, I definitely agree. Like, the administration should keep some of those options more consistent, especially since we are still in the middle of the pandemic. And then, so we are coming to 11 o'clock, and I want to end with the question, how can community members or the university in general better support and advocate for this population?
I personally think more meetings like this, just something like this, just getting our chance to let our voices be heard. I know that she linked that form, but it's a little bit different than something like this. So.
I totally agree with Gemini. Like, we as a team can really get together and help each other out and make this happen and advocate for each other, because we're all in the same boat, whether you're like me and you can't finish a sentence, or you're in a chair, or you have ADD, or you have bad depression, or all of the above. We as a family can really do this. And I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
I agree. I think there needs to be like more awareness, and because like people with disabilities are like more marginalized, it's hard to for people to like understand what exactly they're going through, because they can't relate or because they don't know about it. And I think even more, like, if these meetings are I don't know if it was like open for people to just view and listen to, but if there were more meetings like this and it was something that other students could attend, and I know there's like some people don't feel comfortable with their camera being on, and if that is the case, or they don't want their name released, you could attend without your camera, and other students would be there just to like hear you and know that like people on campus do experience these things, and like it's real, and just so they can relate more.
I just wanted to thank everybody who shared. It's been very insightful, and really grateful to hear what you have to say. I would like to acknowledge that that something that has continued to come up through this conversation is perhaps an issue of trust, and I just would like for for the opportunity to continue to be part of these conversations so that we can build that back up for students. I think policy and procedure gets in the way, and you could hear us outside of the university arguing that over coffee for days. So we're with you. I think we want to work with you, and we want to connect, and we want to help. As a person who has a number of disabilities myself, I just hear you. I hear all of you and what you're saying. So yeah, let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much. I'm not sure who all organized it. Amanda, I know pops up, but thank you so much for inviting us in.
I also would like to thank everyone who was willing to be a part of this conversation and sharing some of the most vulnerable moments you have experienced here on campus, because this conversation was really insightful and could bring awareness further to the university about some of the added stressors that COVID has brought about and the overall experiences of this population. And I really hope that we can bring awareness to like what this population is experiencing.
I did put it in chat, but I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can get a list of like everyone in this chat, as far as especially like the teachers, professors, or whoever, like the advocacy center, stuff like that, just so we can kind of keep track, as well as the students, so that way we kind of have, hey, I really want to reach out to this particular student because, you know, I really felt heard by them. Is there a way that we can get like a list as well as, hey, this was a student versus this is a person that we can reach out to from the advocacy center?
Sorry, for me, the end of that kind of cut off.
You didn't catch what I had said?
No, it was kind of cutting off for me.
I was just asking if we could get like a list of who attended, as well as like if they were a student or they worked out of the advocacy center or they worked out of this center, just so we do have the list of resources.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that should like come about after this conversation and to bring some type of awareness to the administration, and so they can hear all your voices.
I know it's 11 o'clock and I don't want to like open up a conversation here. But I do want to throw out a quick project that is literally in my head and I've been wanting to do for quite some time. And obviously with the pandemic, things have been kind of tossed around, right? And some of the projects have got put on the back burner. But we have a faculty resource guide for students with disabilities. And I would love to share that with you all and to see like the communication that we're sharing with our instructors and to get your feedback. And on the opposite side is what I'm hoping to create is the same thing for students, is a resource guide, and to help students navigate, you know, our institution as to not just like how to share your accommodation plan, what's available, but, you know, also to have like just templates too for you to kind of copy and paste, and you can add in what you need to add in to personalize it and tailor it to yourself, but to kind of help you build as to how to advocate, you know, especially, you know, our first and second year students, like after you've been at it for a while, you build up kind of some, you know, language. But, you know, your voices are definitely the most important piece to any work that we do. So again, let's keep this conversation going. And, you know, when we start these projects, I think something kind of moving forward that we can do better is include you in the building of some of those projects. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And then I can always share the recording too with either Holly or Megan, just so you can all have this conversation for your records as well.
That'd be great. Thanks, Amanda.
And then if we have nothing else to add, I just want to say thank you again and have a great day.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for letting us be a part of this. And everyone stay safe, stay strong. I am Melly. I'm Auntie Melly in the theater art department. I will be your auntie if you need me. I will fight like a Valkyrie demon bitch if you need me. So I'm gonna send you guys a lot of love, but I have to run a few errands and stay well. And this was awesome.